thanks again for having me here. Well, my name is Elito. I've been in the company for 27 years, right after college. I spent the first 10 years of my career in South America, in Brazil. Then I moved to Asia, where I was responsible for supply chain logistics over there for 8 years. And the last 9 years, I've been based here in the US. I run the operation North America, and the last 2 years in global. Basically working in supply chain, all the functions, logistics, manufacturing, procurement, and I did a bit of sales as well. So it's been like a quite long journey with AB InBev. So our company grew not just organically, but we had a lot of M&As during a period of our life as a company. And when you do so many M&As across the globe, in Africa, Asia, in Americas, you also bring all that complexity and differentiations as well in the systems that we operate, in the way that we operate, in the way that we go to the market. So we had this ecosystem that is right now way more complex than it used to be. So just for you to have an idea, we have more than 100,000 suppliers. We have over 270 plants, breweries, and vertical operations. We have more than 600 distribution centers, more than 500 brands. So when we start to look, what's the level that we want for our supply chain in terms of integration, in terms of orchestration, we saw that we need to kind of think a little bit different in the way that we would have to connect those operations in the day-to-day to bring a level of improvement overall, at the same time create new benchmarks. So that's why back then we decided to kind of review our approach, our strategy in terms of supply chain transformation. And one of the pillars that we saw that was definitely important for us to make a change was in the planning side. And that's one of the reasons that almost 5 years ago, we started with the online. So when we revisit and we saw that we definitely want to be way better integrated, not just within the supply chain, but with all our stakeholders, we review and map it out in all the areas, all the capabilities that we need to improve. And we saw that it was not just about the technology that we had to improve, but to make sure that our process and our people were also at the right level. So when this technology comes, we could really kind of extract everything that we could from those machines, those tools, those softwares that we were bringing in. So we put a lot of effort on training people. We put a lot of effort to reinforce the quality of the execution of the process that we were putting in place. When the tools came, we really were much easier, the implementation, to extract the results from it, and of course to get the benefits that we were expecting from those investments. As a CPG, we decided to kind of, and it's very fast, so we decided to go a little bit more focused on the operational level and on the tactical side of it. So we went with capabilities with online, for example, like demand planning, supply network planning, materials planning, MEIO. So we could have, like, in our case, very important reverse logistics as well. We had to develop that piece. Very operational. So we are looking like days, weeklies, and months. And we did that across several countries. So we start piloting, of course, in a couple, but we are right now in about 10 countries that represent, those are the big ones, that represent close to 75% of our volume. And we hope by the end of the year, we could get close to 85% of our volume being covered with the online. More than the KPI itself, I think one of the great benefit that we got was the ability to get a very good balance in terms of improvements in cost, cash, and service. In supply chain, it's always hard for you to to kind of really achieve all the three. You can sometimes improve service by increasing inventories. You can maximize, cost, but then you jeopardize your service. And we have been able to really balance well the improvement in all the three at the same time. And I think this is probably one of the biggest success that we put in people, process, and technology that is bringing consistently over the years with us, especially the last 2 years was very strong. In terms of KPI itself, we can say, for example, service level out of stocks reduced by half in the last 3-4 years. Inventories we reduced by like 20%. Our forecast accuracy right now as a company, when we look like a month plus one, by country, by SKU of this country, we are above 87%. So it was more than 11 percentage points improvement. So very good results. More important that sustainable. So we are not having too many spikes or surprises, which give us more stability as well to focus on the real problems. So Touchless, we call that, we create a KPI. I'm quite obsessed with that because in the past, we invest a lot in technology, but we were not always successful on extracting all the benefits and using the max that we could from each one of those, So when we start revisiting this back, that was like 5-7 years ago, I would say, we start to try to make sure that the usage of those tools were getting really at the optimal level. And one of the KPIs that we decided to create a few years ago, a couple of years ago, we were more consistent across the world, is the touchless. And touchless for us is the quality of the plan. Because if the plan is good enough, when we talk about planning, it's more like the quality of the plan. If you go like deployment, transportation, then you go like how much you touch the order and so on. But the quality of the plan helps a lot in terms of, if the plan is good from the beginning, everything goes smoother afterwards in the next step of the chain. And this has been one of the focus that we try to minimize the amount of change we have in our plants, try to minimize the amount of touch that people really need to kind of intervene to change to make it happen. So we can kind of reduce the amount of change and focus on the ones that we really need to put efforts and people behind. So we have been very, very focused on that. If you get an example with 09 demand planning, get, for example, US, our demand planning in the US, that the output that comes out of the system, today, 85% is touchless. That means that what the machine gives, people only touch or change 15% of it. By getting that, you are able to make every single step of the next, step of the chain much simpler, much easier, much smoother. So, it's much easier for you to do the allocation of your production, the planning of your lines, the communication with suppliers. Everything gets much easier because you don't change that much. And of course, if this happens and you are capable to maintain good service, lower cash inventories, and with cost, then it's even better. And the US, just as an example as well, we have out of stock is below 0.5%. So it's a 99.5% of service to the market, having the quality of the plan at this level. So I think that's definitely one of the things that we have been working the most to try to bring all the countries that we have in the system to a level like this example, like the US. I think from the beginning, and we start piloting and everything like 5 years ago, I would say, when we start designing this change on the planning side, I think that from the beginning we had a very nice level of alignment, collaboration, a very good understanding in terms of strategy, priorities as well, understanding what would be the hurdles, understand that both sides needs to work together so the outcome will be the best for both. I think there was a very good work in terms of developing and working together the experts and the SMEs that we had to have in our company together with their own nine from the beginning. I think this was really good. We create a NPS evaluation as well. We do that for all our partners. And online, we have been improving. That means last year we finished at 40 NPS, which is a good number. We still expect to get better. But this shows that a very good communication is in place, that problems are raised, and the team working together are solving. So the satisfaction of the planners are getting higher. So I think working in this type of environment where you have, really the transparency to discuss problems, gaps, opportunities, and work it together on those. Really, if you have a partner that can work with that transparency, open the gaps, open opportunities, and keep looking for more, I think this is essential, and that's what I believe is one of the things that has been helping us a lot on the relationship. I think there is a clear change in the way that we look for our planners. We definitely need a different expertise to run some of those too. So training of people and making sure that the process, like I mentioned before, it's in place for those experts now working on it is definitely crucial. That's one. I think the other one would be the way that when we use a tool that is so connected end to end with several other systems, to guarantee that those SLAs are happening and are being executed properly, it starts to be really important because they're so connected. You have to respect SLAs. Very important. I think this obsession of the touchless that I mentioned, I think it's really important because at the moment that you connect, for you to really extract all the benefit, the more accurate you are, the better is your plan. The easier it will be for you to run such a interconnected supply chain. At the same time, you give the right time for your experts to work on the things, on the disruptions that wasn't possible to predict, which is the life of a supply chain personnel, is to solve problems. But the less amount of problems that we generate, the better. And I think the touchless is a good way for you to go there and focus your team on the things that matter. The last one would be the scenario planning. I think this connection as well helps a lot on scenario planning, which was one of the objectives when we started back then to review our whole supply chain transformation. It was to enable us to do more scenario planning and the quality of that scenario that we have been working on. So I would say those four things would be like a big learnings that we had so far. Still learning, but moving in the right direction for sure. There are three things that we are focusing now. Of course, one of those is the Gen AI. We are looking also in IBP, which we have a very good S&OP process. We believe that we could have additional benefit by going a little bit further on the IBP world. And the third one is very specific to our case, is scheduling. Really the scheduling, but not just the packaging line, but connecting the other pieces of our scheduling in our business. To do the scheduling of liquid is definitely a challenge to connect these with all the other scheduling that we do with suppliers, with the lines and everything. So this is one thing that we still believe that we can integrate more. But going back to the Gen AI piece, we are looking for 3 levels of work with Gen AI or with AI, right? With agents and everything. The first one is the training. I think training, which is what everybody is trying to do, you can give, the tool opportunities to train your team. You can give like a simple summaries of what's going on. So the platform can definitely help on that. Training platform is definitely like the first one that we are starting already to do, not just with O9, but with some others as well. I think the capability is already there. The second level, I would say that is more to explain the plan. So the training is one thing, explain the plan and why those changes are happening. That's a much harder thing to do. Today, we have to use our planners analysis to understand, for example, if the demand changed, what happened in terms of allocation, what change happened in terms of deployment, what's the reason behind, what type of cost was created and generated because of that change. So this level of detail of analysis, when you combine some different pieces of the puzzle, is definitely one thing that we would like to work. We are trying to pilot some solution into that direction. And this is probably one of the things that we are looking for 2025 to be able to do it. And the third one is really to, when the tool start to be able to suggest improvements on the plan. That's a little bit further, but I would say that those will be the three steps that we expect to have when I look for AI. A training platform, an ability to truly explain the plan, and then start to suggest solutions, different opportunities in the plans that we are looking at in the future.